Nicole Harold here, physical therapist. I want to talk to you today about vertigo. What the heck is it? What's it all about? I've spent a lot of years working with clients that come into the office and just really feel pretty lost. And so really this is my mission, is to share with people what vertigo is and some things that you can do about it. So we're going to focus today on what it is, and then we'll follow up with another video on some things you can do about it. So I've got my trusty diagram here of the inner ear, so I want to review this with you. Let's define vertigo first. Vertigo is a false sense of movement. It does not have to be spinny. It can be wavy. There are several diagnoses that we're aware of for vertigo. And then there's just kind of vertigo and we don't have a diagnosis for it. So it gets a little abstract. It's a little confusing, I'm not going to lie. Medicine does not have it all figured out. We know a lot more than we did when I went to school 30 years ago, when we didn't get taught this in school, to be honest. So we're going on a right trend. So let's talk about false sense of movement. A lot of people will describe it as being dizzy, being unsteady, being lightheaded, spinning. There's different types of vertigo, okay? But the inner ear has a lot to do with this, okay? So here's our diagram of the right ear. Here's where maybe you use a Q-tip, maybe not. Here's the outer canal and your eardrum, okay? Notice here at the eardrum, surrounded by skull. Inside the eardrum, deep within the skull, are the hearing centers that flank the balance part of the ear. So very, very deep in your ear. You do not want us to see this. So that's why I don't look inside my patient's ears. I can't see this at all. I can see maybe whether they have wax buildup or not. And that's it. So if we take this and we make it bigger, here's the hearing center, the nerves coming in, and here's the balance center with its nerve coming in. Have you guys heard about the crystals? Let me tell you what that's about, okay? Benign positional vertigo, BPV. Benign meaning you can live with it. Positional vertigo meaning your head movements, particularly breaking the plane of gravity, typically stirs the pot with this vertigo. So if your head is up and you're still and you're feeling pretty good, but when you break the plane of gravity, you lie down in bed, you roll side to side, and you feel spinny or weird, that's a sign that maybe, just maybe, you might have some BPV. It's one type of vertigo. That's important for you to know. There's different types. There's all sorts of things going on here in the ear. It's a tiny, tiny structure. You think about how microscopic this has to be deep inside your skull. It's powerful though. So let's talk about BPV because it is very, very common. I'm not gonna lie, I have it. I treat BPV clients several times a day, and I'm sure I could reach out to way more people and do it all day long, 7 days a week. Here's the balance part of the ear, which is deep inside the skull. You have a right ear and you have a left ear balance center, okay? So balance and hearing are neighbors. You can have good hearing and bad balance and vice versa. So right in here, if we blow this up even more, in all of our inner ears, both right and left, we have these calcium bicarbonate otoliths that we call the crystals. Okay, layman's term is they're crystals. Calcium bicarbonate, okay, so calcium, you guys know about osteoporosis. There's a theory that as we become more osteoporotic, our bones become more brittle, that these crystals also become brittle. So that can be possibly why BPV or inner ear problems tend to happen more prevalent in our older years. So these crystals are sitting in this gel membrane. Gel membrane is on top of these little hair cells, and then there's a nerve that goes and disseminates the information. This is happening in your right ear and it's happening in your left ear. This schematic here is what happens when I bend forward. So this first schematic is when my head is upright. Crystals on top of gel, hair cells. If this is, that orientation is correct, if my crystals are doing what they're supposed to, they're in the right place, and that tells my brain that my head is upright. When I bend forward, this is what happens. I bend forward, the crystals fall forward because they have a specific weight. They bend the gel, they bend the hair cells, and if it's happening symmetrically, then that tells my brain that I'm bending forward or bending sideways, whatever the case may be. But here's where the not fun stuff comes in. When some of these crystals, which are housed here, they break free, sometimes they can get caught in one of these semicircular canals. Notice they're on different angles. The inner ear works as a gyroscope. It tells you the position of your head. And so there's fluid that flushes through this entire system. But when some of these crystals have broken free, we don't know why sometimes. Head trauma is a good reason if you just bumped your head on the countertop. We don't really know all the time. Or do these crystals become brittle and they break free? Highly likely. When these crystals get caught in one of these semicircular canals, because of the nerve function and its connection with the eyes, our eyes will do an involuntary quiver. What's really cool, as vestibular therapists, doctors, audiologists, they can tell which canal your crystals are stuck in based on your eye movement. If your eyes rotate this way, it's one canal. If your eyes rotate another way, it's another canal. And if they go sideways, it's another canal. So when we test for this, we have to see your eyes. Our jobs are then to help move your head, to use gravity to guide those crystals out of the canal. And then I certainly subscribe to the theory that you have to keep your head upright for a few days so that gravity can pull those crystals back into the gel and re-stick. So we try to get them back to their happy home so the gyroscope is working symmetrically between right and left ear, so that when you move your head, you don't feel nauseous, you don't feel spinny, you don't feel dizzy, weird, unbalanced. And we try to get them to re-stick there. So I usually give my patients about a week of altered head positions to try to use gravity to your advantage to get the crystals to pull back to where they're supposed to be and hopefully stay there. And here's what you need to know about BPV. If you have BPV once, it's my experience, you're probably going to have it again. So I think it's extremely important to not only fix the acute issue, but also teach you how to self-manage specific to the canal that is most likely the issue for you. My experience, it tends to reoccur in the same canal in the same ear. If you just Google how to do this or YouTube how to do this on your own and you don't know what canal it is, you could be stirring the pot unnecessarily. Okay? I love that there's stuff out there, but you really have to know what you're dealing with before you can treat. Otherwise, you're throwing spaghetti at the wall. And as a vertigo client myself, I'm going to tell you, if I'm going to do a treatment, I darn sure want to make sure that I'm doing it right, because it does not feel good. I'm not going to lie. When we treat for this, we have to stir the pot. We have to find the crystals. People get dizzy. Not very often, but sometimes people vomit. And sometimes that's one of the first things we hear with BPV is patients say, I just rolled over in the middle of the night to get up to go to the bathroom and all heck broke loose. Everything was spinning. That's one of the most common stories. So, not that you can't self-treat, but guidance as to what crystals or what canal the crystals are stuck in is important. Just throwing spaghetti at the wall doesn't make sense to me, because it's just an awful feeling. It really can be just terrible. And then once they're back and they're in the right place in both right and left ear, then I subscribe to the fact that you should then exercise the system. Because just like when you break your arm, even if you haven't, you can surmise, then you break your arm and you're casted for 12 weeks and the surgeon says, we're going to take an x-ray. Oh my gosh, the x-ray looks great. We're going to take the cast off. You can surmise that that arm is healed. But as soon as that cast comes off, it's not like you're going to go play tennis and go play golf and feel like everything is normal again. It's going to need some rest. It's going to need some exercise to get stronger. I believe that your inner ear should be treated the same way after you have a crystal problem or any hit to the inner ear, quite frankly. It needs to be rested, it needs to be exercised, and there are crazy exercises that we'll chat about in future to help with that. But I really, again, think you need to understand how it works first before you can move forward with rehab and know what to expect in your rehab. All right, guys. Positional vertigo. Let me know if there's more that you want to know about it. I will try to continue to share information that I say to people day in, day out. I just figured I'd say to the masses now. So have a great day.